And in a few minutes, we'll have it all set up all the way. This just goes to show you this getting on live is more than a notion. It ain't as simple as we think. So I will no longer be making fun of any celebrity trying to get this thing together. You look so beautiful and glowing. When I texted you earlier and I asked, was you shining? I didn't know, like shining.
Yep.
So let's just give a little bit of background. First and foremost, hello everybody. I am Lakeisha Gray-Sewell, the founder, CEO of Girls Like Me Project. And I have with me a guest. This is actually our very first time doing this real founders of Chicago talks. And I got to give a shout out to my girls, Jamila Makani Trumiel and Aprecia Faulkner, who in one of our sister get-togethers that we just do, our sister venting support meetings once a month. And at one of them, we just made the declaration that, you know, there's some founders of organizations in Chicago, and then there's the real Chicago founders. And so that's a whole different thing, right? And so this is the first inaugural conversation we having with another real Chicago founder. So yay! Yes. So a little bit of background about my illustrious guests. My Shiro herstory-making Shiro sister friend. First and foremost, she is a Saluki, SIU, and graduated in aviation from SIU, and went on to just do some phenomenal things. Tam, you've like broken records, you've gotten awards, you've pioneered your space in aerospace and aviation, and now the work you do with young people, bringing them into those careers in aviation is just incredible. So why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Well, the name of the organization that I founded is called the AeroStar Avion Institute. We have been working since 2008 to literally give wings to dreams, is what we say. So our students are from underprivileged background, underserved students who have just not had an opportunity to be exposed to STEM careers, and especially and particularly careers in aviation and aerospace. So I spend my life giving kids opportunities to learn about aviation, the different job opportunities that exist within the aviation industry, different pathways in science, technology, engineering, and math by way of aviation. And so it's been a privilege. Just got notice on Facebook today that one of my former students just got tapped to be a drone pilot for the United States Air Force.
What?
And it's in officer candidate training. Started with me when he was 16 years old over the summer. And we have so many stories like that of young people who have literally changed the game in their ability to be a major force and to be recognized in aviation and STEM. So any parent listening want to get their kids involved, visit avioninstitute.org, AVION institute.org. And we love to get your student into our programs. We will be fully online this summer, so we're looking forward to sharing that information. And we literally get kids high. So that's what we do through aviation and aerospace education.
So that is incredible. And before we end, that information will scroll across so people can follow you. So we know how incredible that is that young people get that opportunity, because who did we know? You know, you heard of Bessie Coleman, but Bessie Coleman was an ancestor. You didn't see her, you know what I mean? And outside of her, you didn't know anybody who was a pilot of any kind. You know, everything was always in the history book. So for you to be living history, that is absolutely incredible. So I'm saying that word incredible because that's exactly what you are. So and not only like let's talk also, because you're giving these opportunities to young people, but you yourself, we both were young people before. So I want you to kind of talk about how you even made, like, how did you get where you are now? What was it that sparked you? Because I think that beginning is a huge part of today's conversation.
Absolutely. So my spark started out as an explosion. I came into this world, as a ball of energy, and so for me, it was a rough patch. My preteen, teenage years, just trying to figure out who I was. Um, why I was so much more aggressive and angry than other girls, why I was so much of a tomboy, why I exhibited and expressed emotions and feelings physically, and I just had no concept of personal emotional responsibility, right? I had no concept of what emotional abuse looked like when children do it to other children, which is bullying, which I was. And so for me, growing up, I grew up in a 3-bedroom apartment, 13 people. I was the authoritarian from a very young age. Still out of 7 siblings, people still think I'm the oldest, because I just carried that much force and energy and dominance as a personality. And then, my intelligence as a child and as a student was impeccable, and not by my standards, but by what academia said an excellent student was. I mean, I made great grades, but that side of the report card that say behavior, I never got money for that side. And after a while, they stopped giving me money for straight A's because they started to say it doesn't matter. You know, it doesn't matter if you getting straight A's if you can't control your temper, your attitude, your mouth, and stop fighting. And so I never correlated the two. I never saw my behavior as a problem. Uh, and what I learned to realize is that growing up in a very traumatic environment, low income, violence, a lack of resources, your personality, especially as a young girl, a young attractive girl, with an adult body, like way sooner than you should have had it, is like you have to become a survivor. Like everything is defense mode, is survival mode. And so my attitude and my ability to put up these walls and these defense mechanisms is what allowed me to survive. It's absolutely what kept me from, being a prey of a sexual predator. It absolutely what kept me from, allowing myself to be in abusive relationships or traumatic. Like I just wasn't having it. I wore my special shirt today for this particular occasion. This has literally been my motto before it was a scripture. And I don't think it's in the Bible, but it's probably something like it in there somewhere.
It's in the word of Tammera. It's in the holy word of Tammera.
But I say all that to say, it has made me tremendously successful in corporate America, dealing with 95% white male industry and aviation, to be the only Black person, to be the only female, to go through all of these different phases and stages of my life, having to fight for a seat at the table, and not just for me, but have to fight for my colleagues, have to fight for other Black girls, for other Black and brown kids, for other people who were shy or timid or docile. I always became the advocate. So I think a lot of what we're going to talk about today is how to reach not just the how just not to reach kids in general, but how do you reach the bad kids? How do you reach the kids that are deemed rebellious, and what tactics do work, what tactics don't work. And that's why I was so happy when I sent you the text. I'm like, sis, I was literally just thinking to myself, we should just go live. He was like, I thought the exact same thing. So I want people to be able to take from this conversation that there is no one way to reach or impact and communicate to children. You literally have to, what they call it now, code switching. You have to be able to be dynamic. You have to be able to be a good listener. And everybody's not good at that. And every kid doesn't receive the same information or chastising or scolding the same way. I know I didn't. I know I needed tough love. Anybody who came close to me, just trying to be, target, I'm like, no, that's not happening. Let somebody come grab me by my shirt and push me against the wall and be like, I saw what you did. You do it again, you're done. Oh, okay. I got you.
Oh,
Just
see,
don't need to say it again.
see, putting your hands on me of any age, that would have been a bad situation. So
It depends on who it
it
was.
depends on who it was. So the thing is, we had this conversation on Facebook yesterday with difference of opinions and different experiences that we bought in, and other people chimed in too. And I wanted you to talk about your background because I think we both are as passionate. I think we are where we are now because of our background when growing up. And just like you, my background also included being a great student, you know, academically, and also being teacher's pet in a lot of senses too. But getting along with others, being able to respect authority, right? That was a big pushback for me, was always with authority. And it for me, I just have to explain this because I think this goes into also this conversation, is that my pushback for authority wasn't any and every authority, but it's just knowing that sometimes you grow up in households. So I didn't just live with my mother and my father, they got a divorce. Well, then I had to move in with my aunts and my granny. And so it's a lot of adults, a lot of authority. And, you know, back in our day, any adult is your authority, and any adult
Yeah.
can discipline you. They can do whatever, especially
Mm-hmm.
if your mom is at work or your mom at night school or whatever she's doing, like in my situation, then whatever adult is there is
It's
your
the
authority
authority.
figure. And oftentimes that adult that I was left in the care of wasn't a very caring adult and was abusive in a lot
Mm-hmm.
of ways, right? And a lot of adults we saw that, you know, they took that authority for advantage of it, and abused their authority. And so I was one like you who advocated against it. No matter what, if you have a badge, if you have
Oh yeah.
oh, mayor, whatever it is, you cannot abuse your authority towards me. And even, you know, I talk all the time about being slapped across the face when I was 17 years old and less than 100 pounds, standing in front of the high school Simeon, by a 6 foot police officer, almost 300 pounds, and slapped me across my face. So those kind of things I understand. You know, I think we both have that understanding of what it is to be a young person with a voice, feeling powerless, but at the same time having power, but not knowing
Yeah.
how to direct that power. And so that's what we're going to talk about. So the conversation came in response to an article that was published about young people and their response to what happened on, I can't recall what weekend it was. Maybe it was 2 weekends ago, when everybody was outside. It was a beautiful weekend. Sun was shining, and young people just were, everybody in the city, not just young people, but
Mm.
north side, everywhere you look, people were congregating and out, just like what, no shelter in place.
Yeah.
And it went viral with the mayor approaching some young men on a basketball court. And for me, this is what I saw. These were the optics that I saw. I saw the mayor with her staff and team, all of them covered up with masks on, approaching the basketball court. And I saw the mayor in a very, you know, tough stance, because we know I am not saying angry black woman trope here, because I think you and I both carry that same kind of energy. So
Yeah.
I'm not downing her energy, but she just came with this what I said, get off the court, go home. And she turned to leave, like, do what I said, right? She was a G. And unfortunately, she was addressing some G's, and they were like, and let me not say they, because some of the young men were, uh, they all turned to leave, but some of the young men had something to say back, and some of them were saying, no, just go. So it was a mixed crowd. And
Mm-hmm.
so you say to that, the comment he made, bald headed, whatever he called her, it was absolutely, I in no way condone
Right.
that at all, ever. But what's your take on that?
You know, I my thing is based on the reaction of the young men. There are always going to be those kids that are just belligerent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just belligerent. Like, you can't tell me nothing. You can't say nothing to me. For those people, I heard somebody else posted yesterday for the kids that I deal with. Sometimes it's just there is no talking to them.
Mm-hmm.
There's no talking to them. It's not tough love. It's not compassion. It's not empathy. There's no talking to them because they got a chip on their shoulder. They got something to prove. Ain't nobody gonna disrespect me. And if you really want to get deep into the conversation, this is where the gun and the gang culture comes in, right? Where you just gonna kill somebody or shoot somebody for saying something to you that you don't like.
Mm-hmm.
It's that kind of chip that doesn't allow for healthy communication in any space.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I think the biggest thing that probably happened when she showed up on the court was that they was embarrassed
Mm-hmm.
that they got caught, because they probably went on the court knowing that it was under shelter in place. They had seen all of the memes from the mayor. So I'm not giving them the benefit of the doubt that they didn't know they were supposed to be out there playing basketball. They wasn't supposed to be out. I'm thinking they knew for sure you're not supposed to be out here on the basketball court playing ball, and you just got caught. So that led to my response of saying, how do you complain about how somebody came at you when you're breaking the rules?
Mm-hmm.
You're being rebellious and breaking the rules, and you want somebody to come and talk to you and approach you in a specific way to have a conversation about why you did something you knew you ain't had no business doing. That's so far away from how I approach kids. Like, how I approach, I can't even wrap my head around that. So for me, sis, it's always going back to the intention and the root of what do you want the outcome to be of this interaction.
Right.
And for her to show up the way she did on a basketball court with the full authority that she has to do as the mayor and have put in a place, there's a level of authority that comes with just a parent showing up and telling you to get off the basketball court.
Mm-hmm.
Officer coming up with a gun telling you get off the basketball court, and the mayor of the city coming and like, the lack of respect to just shut your mouth and get off the court when you were in the wrong. I think that's where I can't come to their defense. That's where I can't come to their defense. And so I hear your point, and we can talk about this as we move through the conversation. When you compound that with actually trying to share knowledge, share information to build a culture of communication where, hey, we want to talk about COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
How do we share with young people the severity of what's happening, how everything that they do impacts not just them, and not just because somebody can die in 2 weeks because you decided you wanted to go play basketball.
Mm-hmm.
Is her walking on the court that day the time to have that conversation? I don't know. I wasn't in her headspace when she was with her team and they decided to hit the streets to do whatever they was gonna do. I'll do whatever they were gonna do. I don't know if somebody called her and said, we got boys out on the court right now, come get them. Like, so I can't speak to where her mind was when they all were out in their entourage walking through the city. But I think it was a physical manifestation of the memes, right? You think you're about to go outside, open the door, oh, there go Lori. You're about to go to, riding on the lakefront, oh, there go Lori. It's all fun and games when she show up on the meme. But when you go out to play ball and she actually show up, like, it's a meme come true. I literally just came up with that off the top of the dome.
I love that.
Meme come true. It's a meme come true. She literally showed up.
Wait, sis, you gotta get that. You gotta get that on the shirt.
Hey,
you gotta put that on.
I'm all about my shirt, so I might as well get it up. It was a meme come true. They literally joked about it and played with it so long. Everywhere I go, here come Lori popping up. Now you out playing ball and Lori pop up for real? Like, it's not a game. Yeah. It might be funny when it's a meme, but I think the reality set in, and I think the ones that got belligerent were just embarrassed.
And see that, and that's where we defer, because what I believe in, because my husband and I, we talk about this as we're driving through. We live in Inglewood, and so as we're driving through, and we're on our way maybe to the grocery store or something that we deem essential, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're in our car, in the comforts of our car, returning home to the comforts of our home. You and I both are mothers, so I think we should have said that too. So we're both mothers. I'm a mother of young adults. So I have a 20-year-old and a 21-year-old. Yeah, he'll be 22 in August. So I have two college students home. And the difference is I don't have the debate with them about going outside. They don't have the desire to go outside unless my son is doing some photography or something with his drone. But other than that, it's not go hang out. We don't have those kind of conversations. And I think we don't have to have those conversations because they have the luxury of having their own bedroom. They have the luxury of having their own computer, multiple devices and phones and internet access and Netflix accounts and Hulu accounts and every kind of account. They have that, right? But then I also know that there's some young people who their bedroom is the family living room.
Oh yeah, been there.
And the family is sitting on your couch all day. You can't even sleep. There's no food in your house. Yeah. You have uncles coming and going, and who knows if that's some tension or toxic. You don't know what that situation looks like, right? And we say, that there's some danger of COVID and 2 people can die in 2 weeks or 14 days or 7 days. Well, we don't know if those young men woke up that morning suicidal. And his cousin said, hey, bro, let's go play ball. You ain't got to be in the house. Come on, let's go. We don't know. We don't know if somebody could have died that day, right? We don't know if he was in an altercation with somebody, had a gun drawn on him the night before, or he drew the gun on somebody the night before. We just don't know. And that is the reality that I think we don't bring to these conversations. We think it's just go home. You got to stay in the house. But we don't think about all the different dynamics. You and I, even though we were deemed problem children, we had homes to go to, and we had people that would hold us accountable, and we knew the rules, right? We knew consequences of the rules, and we had respect for some authority figure. Somebody could check us, right? But what about the child who's been in foster care, who's emancipated from foster care, who's been in and out of juvenile detention, or whose parents are in and out of the system? The system to them only means oppression. It doesn't mean somebody cares about me and they're concerned about my well-being. Because my thing is, Frederick Douglass said it best. It's easier to build up strong children than it is to repair broken men.
That's right.
So this young boy wasn't just 12 or 13 or 11 years. He was easily 20, right? 18 to 20. And so where are the authority figures before he gets to this age where he's combative with authority? I'm not saying I'm not saying that he, we don't know. We don't know what he's like any other time with any other adult. But my thing is, if we're in leadership town,
I think we do know what he's like with other people, with any other adult, and other people of authority. Because if the mayor shows up,
no, I don't know.
You get out of with the. I think the mayor of the city, like the city of Chicago, the 3rd largest city, she's a global figure.
For you and I, we have that utmost respect for her. Like that's history for us. But there's some people who don't care. They don't care.
I got less respect for the police than I got for Lori Lightfoot.
Absolutely. You and I both share that in common. So, you already know that. But there and some people may even hold their pastor over her. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. There are different people that hold different people in different esteem. And some people, for anything that represents the system, that's an automatic shut off. Now, his grandma, his auntie, the person that's calling the shots on the streets, somebody from a violence interruption program like Activist, somebody a man that raised him on the block,
Somebody that put in the work to develop that relationship.
Yeah, we don't know.
Earn the respect and authority.
We don't know what he's like in those spaces, and we don't even know if we don't know what triggered him by her approaching him like that. We just don't know. And my thing is, all I'm saying is, as a leader and as an authority figure, we've got to check our own ego, because kids will try you. They will take back. They will be disrespectful. I've had, you don't even want to know the things that I've had said to me. Like, I've been.
Oh, me too. Working in CPS since.
Ooh, baby.
Well, I mean, none of this is new.
Years.
Read me. I've had kids. I've had the police had to remove kids from the building. Had one kid stalking me every day, coming past the classroom that he knew I was gonna be in, like literally mean mugging me through the window every day. Yeah, one kid that brought up on me. The whole rest of the boys in the class had to come snatch him before he actually tried to put his hands on me. I'm like, I didn't been up against some kids, but I tell you, I can tell you now that the number of those kids that have come back to me and apologized.
That's my point. That's my point. Because they tried it. But
thou
then you did.
Thou shalt not. Thou shalt not.
But then you.
I wore this shirt for a reason.
But here's the thing too. They came back and apologized because they saw your genuine concern for their well-being. They saw that you coming here, you're not here and gone. You're invested in us, in our class, in our school. You are about what you say you about. But this is my first time meeting you, lady, and the first time I'm meeting you, you coming and being aggressive with me.
That's how I am.
And see, I just know that you cannot have any kind of, you can't gain any respect without relationship. It just doesn't happen.
And I have a different opinion on that too, because I cannot have a relationship with somebody, and I can, as a matter of fact, not like somebody and still have a level of respect for them. By the position that they hold, I can have a level of respect for their work ethic, but not give a care about them as a personal friend, or somebody I would want in my circle. But I already at beast at what they do. Absolutely, get mad respect for your work. We're not hanging out. You're not going out for drinks. We're not going on girls' vacation together. Girls tripping together. So I think that you can have a level of respect without for somebody without them having earned it. And that goes back to the child rearing and how they were brought up, and who the authority figures are in their life. If I was taught to respect authority in a specific way, not being abused by authority, but I was actually taught to respect, because my parents always said, you got a problem with your teachers, shut your mouth.
Yep, my mama too.
Come talk to me. I had enough of your mouth. And if when you get to the point where you feel like you're gonna buck up and talk to your teacher like that, I'm gonna knock you upside your head.
That's my mama.
Whole school. And then we're gonna talk about what the issue is with your teacher. But you're not gonna disrespect your teacher and get loud and do all that, because now I got to get in your behind. So there's a level of respect and that's why I say all of these kids are different. I would have loved for after the altercation for the mayor to go back up to him and talk, like, why would you think that that's the type of response that what I said would elicit, knowing, or maybe not knowing, but trying to understand the entire situation in the city of Chicago, and the number of deaths that's happening.
That's my point as well. So we got to ask ourselves, what is the situation in the city right now? Because for many of us in our homes, the situation is the big bad COVID that is out there. But Tammera, the amount of deaths, homicide deaths in the same zip codes
is more
the same
than COVID.
are on par with COVID. So for me as a young person and somebody that works with young people, my question is, where's the alarm for his health and his well-being outside of COVID? Where are the supports, the way that we've had all the agencies come together and build out these triages and all these other spaces, and the
a whole nother live.
So then if that, but even with another live, the thing is, that's their everyday. So they can't put it off to the side and wait till COVID is over. They're living with this every day.
And I think that's part of the breakdown though. Is because that's familiar to them, right? That level of trauma, those murders, losing their friends, being impacted by death on a regular basis from an enemy that's out there, that's in the community. That's one thing. That's familiarity. I think what comes into play with COVID is the lack of urgency and comprehension that it's just as deadly. If they knew that somebody was gonna shoot up the park, would they have went out to play basketball?
And I think that's their question to us. Why don't you see the urgency of us being killed and murdered? Why isn't the
response? Not the question for me, but to the city of Chicago?
Yeah, I think to that's what I'm saying, to the mayor coming in. Where's your response for us? How come nobody's sending in and waving the flag, they're ringing an alarm about this stuff?
Excellent point. Yeah. When Laquan McDonald video came out, the mayor was the one that hid that video. So so I agree with you 1,000%. When we got people dying in the streets, the mayor should be out there showing up on the basketball court, giving hugs. Giving hugs.
And she's been in office, long enough to do that. And these kids are probably thinking, you say that's the mayor. I think back to when I was younger and Mayor Washington. I grew up in Bronzeville, and Mayor Hale Washington was on our block, constantly walking, driving with the big speaker on the megaphone. He was everywhere. So he wasn't this figurehead on the news and in memes. He was literally in our churches, at our schools, at the local store. It was that kind of relationship. And I just think that my childhood and your childhood 30 years ago, right? So this is a whole different dynamic. And I think these are the children who've been neglected growing up. And they are now at that point where we can't control them anymore. Now they're out. And I think unfortunately, there is a huge disconnect. And what I'm saying is that we've got to understand the way we are feeling about the respectability of them just staying in the house and following rules. We've got to know the same thing they're thinking as well. Where is your concern for my life? Where's your concern for me every day? And I want to say that it's not just people like who, I painted this big extreme picture, right, of, somebody's life full of trauma. The point is, we don't know what his life is like because nobody said, hey, what, don't y'all know about COVID? Why are y'all out here? What's going on? Whose basketball is this? Who bought this bat? Like that kind of conversation can still have authority, can still at the end of the day say, get off this court. But you've come at them with a conversation versus finger pointing. And I also want to say,
you came at them with finger pointing instead of a conversation.
Yeah, that's how I think that's what it looked like. That was the optics. I wouldn't have.
I would really want to know what their intentions were when they left the office that day. Like, what were they thinking? What were they doing? For me, the response was definitely seemed like it was ego driven, maybe even, like I said, hurt, embarrassment out in front of their friends and having to feel like they have to save face because somebody telling them to go home. But I think in order to move forward, if Lori was watching this video, and I hope she get a chance to see it.
I hope so too.
What would be a way that they can start talking to kids about, and I'm saying kids, these was young adults.
Young adults, and right.
They do have a different set of circumstances, and it's a whole nother, I don't think we agree on them being, a neglected generation, except in the sense that we neglected them, or that we were so selfish. And I'm saying we as in my generation, because all of the kids that's in their 20s now were born when we were, from all the teenage pregnancies when we was in high school. So they were raised by babies. These kids that are now were raised by, parents that had babies at 14, 16,
or not raised by anybody because their parents, if we look at the statistics, we know a lot of their parents are actually deceased and they are living with grandparents or in foster care. And we also know a lot of their parents, because of war on drugs and other things, have been incarcerated. So the accountability and the hierarchy that we had, you know, if your mom and dad didn't check you, your aunties were, or your grandma, like it was, everybody had that. That's just not what it is. And I think we need to adjust our lens of what it is, what it means for authority. I'll give an example, especially if the mayor has a chance to watch this. My son, who was home from Morehouse over the holiday break, was driving our car to go pick his sister up from work at the Studio Movie Grill on 87th Street. So he's leaving our home, and he calls me frantic and says, "Ma, they're surrounding the car. They all, it's like 15 of them, they got their guns out." The police.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't all white cars. It was you know, the cars. Yeah. So my son is now traumatized. He has this whole experience, and that's not the one and only experience, because he's seen it happen with his dad, you know.
Oh yeah.
So we've got to know that. And this mayor, I know this is not, it wasn't, you know, her administration has taken on decades old, you know, racism and structural injustice and violence. But you've got to come into the community knowing these things have happened, and then understanding that you may not be, you know, everybody's not like me and you like Black Girl Magic. Hey, everybody's not that excited. People want to know, okay, what's going to be different? And if you come in the same way, you know, the same Rambo kind of way, then it leads itself to think. And I think we do need to talk about, what does that mean? I think more of us who are claiming to be mentors and mentor organizations, right, need to be having these conversations. And we need to be having conversations with young people and hearing them. And you said something that I thought was very important. Like you said, you can respect anybody given their position, you know, I'm working on that, sister. You got me beat by that, and you my little sister, so I'm working to be like you in that regard. But there's a thing too. We have tools, right? And a part of in our toolbox is respect. And so I think that we need to be able to give them the tools that they need so that they can express how they feel. Give them the tools to understand and be able to process. You talking to one. Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me?
I can hear and see you perfectly. You did go black for a minute, but I can see you now.
I can't hear you at all. Audio went out.
Can you hear me now?
Hold on. I can't hear you. You can hear me?
I'm not talking. Can you hear me now? No? Okay, hold on.
Audio went out.
Hold on. Let me see something here.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Can you hear me?
Host has unmuted your mic. What?
Can you hear me? No.
I can't hear you at all.
Okay, just hold tight. Let me see what we can do, how we can do this.
Let me check something.
I can hear you perfectly. Is that better?
Yeah, I had to reset the audio.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah, let's look at some of the comments that people are saying, because I see
I'm trying to get to them, but I can't see them.
Okay, I'm gonna post some up here. Okay, we actually have greetings from Don Sutherland in Ghana. Hey Don, listening all the way in Ghana. Thank you for tuning in, Don, with Bridges to Africa Connections. Were they men? I think we're just assuming their age. Sydney Chapman, Black Girls Fly. We are just assuming their age, right, Tam? We don't know for sure their age. Yeah. That they look a lot older than boys. Shamila says we need to find the root causes for these young people.
Yeah.
I saw one earlier that I wanted to, because I think this goes, here it is. Thank you. Too often those in leadership assume they should automatically reverence and obey because of their position, who they are versus who the other person is. Now that's a good point too.
Mm-hmm.
I want us though, Tam, because I don't want this just to be a harp. I want us to provide what are the rules, like how do we move this conversation? How do we work with our young people? Because as Aprecia is saying, and we are both right. Yeah, we've already agreed that we're both right about this.
We sure did.
We are not debating each other. We both know that there are two. It's 1,500 ways. As many children as it is, that's how many ways it is to approach children. And Aprecia says, her mom, Diane Latiker, everybody knows, Kids Off the Block.
Mm-hmm.
Both ways have worked, absolutely, and we know that we are absolutely understand that, because young people, again, it's based on their own backgrounds and their level of trauma, their level of PTSD is on their triggers. The only thing I'm saying is that as adults, there has to be a protocol and a certain approach, especially if it's a city approach, right? You and I, and the way we do things, you said it, I'm this type of mentor, you're that kind of mentor. Well, people know when they sign up for Girls Like Me, this is what they're getting. They know if they're getting from AeroStar, right? But as the city's mayor or leadership in a city way, I think there needs to be protocol. It has to be like, because guess what? I bet you there's engagement policies and rules on how to work with immigrant populations.
And that's what I'm saying. What was the plan when they left the office?
Yeah.
What was the plan when they said, let's meet up and we about to walk through the neighborhood and make everybody go in the house? Like, what was the plan for engagement? Like, what if they ran up on a whole bunch of people that have guns and saying we want our rights, like happened in Michigan, and they out, in the street telling people to go home with a megaphone? Like, so I think as a strategy, you raise an excellent point. What is the protocol? What is the plan and a strategy around sharing information and communication? Okay, yeah, the press conferences every day were good. We're watching the numbers go up and up and up. That's not gonna fly till through summer. No, that's not gonna fly at all. Okay, the parks are closed. The lakefront is closed. What is the strategy for allowing people to get outside and to be a part of activities where they can sit? Have you given a list of recommended outings or activities that people can do while social distancing? No, you just told everybody what they couldn't do, but then didn't tell everybody what would be some good suggestions or some good activities that they might be able to participate in. Unfortunately, so much of what young adults and teenagers do is communal. It's adults have lost a lot of what it means to be in community because we have segmented communities, right? We got work, we got home, we got church, we might have our nonprofit or stuff that we do on the side. But kids' entire life is social. It's usually one social group. That's the school group. That's their friends at school, are also the friends they talk to when they're out of school, the friends that they see wherever they are and whatever they're doing, and the video games. It's the same group of people. And so if we haven't figured out a way to communicate to kids how COVID-19 is affecting how they can be in community, and what other ways they can create surrogate communities that are healthy, then they're missing a huge swath of mental health, social emotional well-being. Did you tell them they can all go to a football field and do joint workouts and exercises together?
And stay 6 feet apart.
Is anybody going to go out there with some speakers and a headset and say, today we doing football drills for all the boys, as long as you 6 feet apart? We're gonna do football drills on the field. Like, I just came up with those two off the top of my head, and hadn't had no preconceived idea about it.
Absolutely,
but it don't take any effort.
It does
exactly what you said. It takes thought, just being aware and cognizant of the fact that there's a need for protocol.
Mm-hmm.
There's a need for engagement and rules of engagement
Mm-hmm.
for young people and young adults, because the whole press conference and, like I said before, the memes were funny until it wasn't a meme no more.
Until the meme come true, as you said.
Until the meme come true, and here you are on the basketball court and Lori Lightfoot show up. It's not funny then. Now you want to get mad. Now you want to cuss her out. But you probably shared the memes, all the memes 50 times and laughed at every last one of them. And so,
And I think also, though, when those rules of engagement and the protocol is made, it can't be made with the people that were flocking her and her entourage. You have got to have young people in the room with you making those rules, and those young people can't just be young people like my children who, college, and you got to have every
from the streets,
every kind of young person, because that's who we're talking to. And so, yes, if you are engaged in one group, that's fine. But this city is huge and there are several neighborhoods. So you may be in Roseland, there's a huge community, a huge city, and every child should be able to know who you are and should be able to. And again, everybody's not going to respect you. Everybody's going to say, some people just get off. That's the only thing, they get off and being the class clown. And that's even 40 and 50-year-olds, right? They say the most outlandish things, the most disrespectful things, but at least you can say, I followed this protocol. I followed this. I gave them that chance to. I saw the humanity in them, and they responded back like they didn't have home training. And then this is what happens. But out the gate, you just coming in, barging in, and the thing is too, if there was a protocol, so the protocol should be, if you're going into a community to talk to young people that's on the court, then you're going that way, right? Do you know who's in that community? Who is the person that they talk to that's in that community?
Exactly.
It's somebody there. So when he said that, the person that's in that community that they respect would have checked him right then and there. Who you think you're talking to, right? Yeah. Apologize. Mumble mouth, and he still would have had attitude, but he would have apologized, right? Mm-hmm. And that person would have brokered the conversation between she and that young man, and she would have been able to say to him, just like another authority figure, a mama or whatever, auntie, whatever they want to call in the memes, she would have been able to check him as well, but it would have also given him some tools as well for himself, because at the end of the day, I think what needs to be expressed is that we don't just want you to not give COVID to somebody, young people. We care about you as well. It's not just about keeping other people safe. The whole thing is, we're concerned about your full development, not just during COVID, but even after. And I think this is the opportunity for the mayor to do those things and her team to do those things. And I think I'm trying to put Avion here so we can have the banner run across so people can see where they can go on. I think Avion Institute.
Why you setting up that? Alencia Williams commented on my post saying, I'm glad the world of medicine and governments have come together to target or bring notice to the demographics of vulnerability and morality as it applies to this pandemic. And they now realize how vulnerable they have allowed a part of our American collective to be before this happened. That's one of the things I've been talking about for During the era of the New Deal, Black people were not included in the national relief efforts. We forget. We forget. I appreciate that the conversation of specified relief efforts would at least look at statistics for every American out pandemic as well. So thanks for that, AT.
Yeah,
definitely appreciate it. One of the last things I want to add, I know we right at an hour, but we appreciate all of the people that have come on and joined, for all of the comments. I don't know if we have any more comments, but another thing that I really want adults to learn how to do when approaching young people is shifting the atmosphere. If it's anybody that talk about shifting the atmosphere, it's the church folks, right?
Right.
Stop praying and shift the atmosphere. Walk into a school, when you walk onto a basketball court, your presence should shift the atmosphere into a positive direction, not a negative direction. Right. So if I see anything wrong with what she did, something in the way that she presented herself shifted the atmosphere to cause that gentleman to react the way that he did, and just the fact that he was belligerent and shouting expletives and being disrespectful, completely calling her out her name, was enough for her to know that she touched the nerve, right? But shifting the atmosphere has to be moving the atmosphere from a place of discord and confusion to a place of a homogenous thought leadership and solutions and resolutions to move the entire group forward, and not just for the benefit or for somebody that can be loud or be heard.
Right.
You know, maybe she took the memes too far. Maybe she thought it was funny that they were going all over the place, so she decided to do a pop-up on Pinterest and see how it would go. And that's how it went. So, you know, if they didn't have a plan, when you don't have a plan, you know, that's what I'm saying, punks jump up to get beat down. You just walk up on somebody and don't really know what their capabilities are, or you haven't really thought out the whole scenario and all the different ways that it could play out. That's not a strategy. That's not a plan, and it's very unproductive when then you have to deal with the fallout and then regroup and come back and try again.
And that's the thing. She is the mayor, and this conversation is about the mayor, but it's about all of us, right? Because we're all responsible. It takes a village, and so it can't just be pitting the mayor against young people or young people.
That's right. I agree.
We have to support the mayor in getting to our young people to make sure that they understand as well that, you know, while we are understanding of your, you know, unique circumstances, and we are going to correct you in love, yes, but you are going to be corrected, because you will not be able to, first of all, just first and foremost, take mayor out of it. That's a woman, a Black woman, and you don't disrespect Black women in our community. That's just that's the first rule, no matter who she is. So we've got to work to reinstill these kind of values and norms. And you you said something about shifting the atmosphere. I'm always so conscious that and hopeful that I do that in a way that you raise the vibration, right?
Yeah.
You don't. People are already low vibrating, and you help them raise it. Because sometimes, Tam, and I know you have had this experience, I walk in a place and they slouching and they sit up. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And it could be because we're attractive women. It could be any number of things, but they definitely straighten themselves up because they don't want to be looked, you know, they want to make a good impression. And so raise the vibration so they come up to you. Don't stoop down to them. And so what she may, I don't know. We don't, like you said, we weren't in her mind, so we don't know. But, you know, sometimes you want to meet people where they are and go low or go where they are. And you can raise up, and it causes people to raise to you. So
that's right.
Tell people again, we got it scrolling at the bottom, but I love you so much.
I love you.
And whatever you're doing, whatever way you're doing it, it's obviously working, because we got young men and young Black men and women in the skies.
All over the sky.
Paid and salaries and introduced to STEM careers, and sometimes they're not in the sky. Sometimes they're working on the planes and mechanics and stuff. So yeah, I want you to talk more about where they can get to you and your organization.
So definitely can go to the website below, avioninstitute.org. If you want to sign up for our newsletter or learn more about our programs and launching of our e-learning platform for all of our summer end of spring and summer courses, scroll down to the bottom. It says sign up for the newsletter and updates. Just put your email address in and you'll get a confirmation email. And you can follow us on social media since you're already here. Go on Facebook to Avion Institute, the AeroStar Avion Institute. So AeroStar, AeroStar Avion Institute on Facebook, and Avion Institute on Twitter. And what's the other one? Instagram, Twitter, Instagram.
Instagram.
I'm going to break freeze. And to follow me for inspiration, I have my own pages. Tammera Inspires on every social media platform. That's Tammera Inspires on every social media platform. You'll find me. So thanks so much, you guys. We really appreciate all of the comments, all of the people that tuned in. I think we had probably over 100 live viewers.
I know
That
we did. Mm-hmm.
live, and I'm really hoping that you guys just all hit share this video. We need people, young people, to know how serious COVID-19 is. But I think this was a really good dialogue to discuss the different approaches, tactics, and situations that we can maneuver and create to dialogue with young people about matters that are serious. Gun violence is serious. Um, the economic disparity is serious. Their grades are serious. Their ability to be able to perform in school, unemployment is serious for our young people. So it's a lot of serious conversations that need to be had. But if we can't get past the initial barrier, which is how do we even talk to kids, it's a non-starter.
Yeah.
And so if they need tough love, send them to me. If they need all of the feels and hugs and the whole, all the lectures and videos, send them to Lakeisha.
And and that's funny because Teresa, who's on here, she just won the National Science Foundation grant. And she's on our board. And so she was just saying to me, you are so much more merciful with young people than you are with adults. And I probably am, but that's because I understand that I know how I was, and I know for every young person that bucks up, it's a pain and it's a hurt there. And if you address that pain and that hurt, you wipe that off, that is will shine like a diamond. And I think that's what we forget a lot of times. And so that's probably where it comes from. I want to thank you, sis. I also want to
say got me tearing up. I thought I was gonna make it through there without
don't you now why are you doing that?
Because I'm supposed to be the tough one, right?
Right, and you trying to make me cry. But I want to say to you, because something that I always say is that, I work with girls, and I always say you can't raise black girl magic if you in pain and you have your own thing. So I want people to know also that if they follow you outside of the work you do with young people, you do a lot of coaching, you do personal coaching, you do spiritual coaching and counseling as well for adults. Because I'm going to tell you, my personal belief is we can't do anything if our adults are the same trauma and pain. They're trying to raise kids, mentor kids, teach kids, and you haven't addressed your own stuff. So that's it. Thank you, sis. Love you. All right. Bye-bye. Thank you all for tuning in. You catch us here at Girls Like Me Project tomorrow morning with COVID responsive programming for the whole family. We'll be here at 10 o'clock a.m. Talk to you all then. Bye-bye.